It's a sad day, really. Seeing that AP article you shared about Maggie Smith, well, it marks the end of an era, doesn't it?
It does.
She was incredible.
Absolutely.
And I get the feeling she was one of your favorites, so...
Let's, should we take a deep dive into her career, maybe? What do you think?
Let's do it. Maggie Smith's career, it's really a masterclass in evolution, adaptability, really. This is a woman who was on stage and screen for, 6 decades. I mean, captivating audiences across generations.
She really was a chameleon, wasn't she? I mean, from those early days on stage,
Yeah.
back in the 50s, to then becoming a household name, right, with Harry Potter, with Downton Abbey.
Right.
It's remarkable how she moved between periods, genres, everything so seamlessly. It's so fascinating to me. Even her name reflects this adaptability. She starts her career as Margaret Natalie Smith, which is her real name, and strategically chooses to go by Maggie Smith professionally. It's a subtle change, but it speaks volumes about her understanding of image, of branding, even way back then.
Oh, for sure. Can you imagine if she hadn't? 2 Margaret Smiths. Talk about a crowded field, right?
Exactly. It's way too many Margaret Smiths. But beyond the practicality, it hints at a willingness to evolve, to shape her own narrative. And that's a thread we see throughout her career, this evolution.
And speaking of evolution, I mean, you look at her 2 Oscar wins, they perfectly illustrate her range, right? We're talking Best Actress for the prime of Miss Jean Brodie in 1969, and then Best Supporting Actress for California Suite just 9 years later. That's not just luck, that is a real testament to her versatility as an actress.
Absolutely. I mean, the prime of Miss Jean Brodie, we see this charismatic, even somewhat unorthodox teacher. I mean, this role kind of foreshadows her iconic Professor McGonagall decades later, don't you think?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
But then California Suite, she brings a completely different energy.
Total opposite.
Yeah, it's understated, it's nuanced, but she still steals every scene she's in.
And that's the mark of a true artist, isn't it? That ability to command attention, whether you are in the spotlight or you are that perfect counterpoint, supporting role. And Maggie Smith clearly understood that. The power of subtlety. She chose roles, I think, with an eye for both the big picture, right? But also the small details, those nuances.
Yeah. And it's funny you should mention subtlety, because even when she delivered a really witty one-liner, there was often this underlying depth to her performances. The article mentions that quote about Harry Potter being her pension.
Right.
It's hilarious, but it also speaks to the realities of a career in the arts, right?
It does. Yeah, it reminds us that even with all the glitz and glamour, actors are still just trying to make a living.
Yeah.
Trying to be practical about their future.
Yeah.
But you're right. I mean, what's really admirable is that even with all of her success, Smith never treated her craft as just a job.
Exactly. And that dedication shines through in her stage work, too. I mean, a Tony Award for Lettuce and Lovage in 1990, that's a big deal.
Absolutely. That's no small feat. Stage acting, it requires a different kind of stamina. That sustained energy night after night for a live audience. There's a rawness, a vulnerability you can't replicate on screen.
Yeah.
And Maggie Smith, she conquered both.
Right.
And that just, again, versatility, commitment. She just really honed her craft.
It's funny you should mention vulnerability, though, because the article also kind of touches on her reputation, right? For being, a little particular on set.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Richard Burton even joked that she was committing grand larceny in their scenes together in the VIPs.
Yeah. I mean, that's the infamous Maggie Smith wit.
Right.
There's actually a funny story from early on in her career. A director, he suggested that she might, try a scene in a different way. And she just replies, deadpan. She goes, "And does that work for you, dear?"
Oh, I love that.
It's perfect.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
it really speaks to how confident she was in her own instincts.
Yeah.
As an artist, she clearly knew her strengths.
Well, 100%.
Yeah.
And let's be honest. I mean, haven't we all encountered, our fair share of fools in our respective fields?
Oh, yeah.
As Smith herself might put it, sometimes you need that sharp wit, a firm hand on the tiller, just to keep those standards high.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And speaking of keeping those standards high, even in her 80s, she was still gracing our screens. But those memorable performances, the Downton Abbey films.
So good.
Right.
It's incredible. A testament to her dedication. She wasn't content to just rest on her laurels. She was constantly challenging herself, breathing life into these complex characters until the very end.
It's kind of remarkable when you think about it. This incredible career, right, spanning decades, countless roles. And yet the article mentions, like, how private a person she was.
Right.
Almost like she wanted the work to speak for itself, without all the distractions of celebrity and all that.
Yeah, there's a certain dignity to that, I don't know, wouldn't you say? A refusal to let the persona overshadow the craft. And it reminds us that the magic really happens up there on the screen, on the stage, right? Not in the tabloids. Yeah. And that air of mystery, I think it just adds to her allure.
Right, totally. It makes you want to know more. Like, what was the process like for her? What inspired these performances? What would you, if you had the chance to sit down with Maggie Smith to talk about her life or career, what would you ask her?
Oh, wow. That's a good question. I would probably ask her about the roles that challenged her the most, the ones that really transformed her as an artist. Or maybe the advice that she would give to young actors, those who were just starting out.
It's fascinating to even consider, what wisdom did she have?
Yeah.
What were her experiences? But even in her silence, I think she leaves us with this legacy, right, of brilliance, this body of work that continues to inspire. It resonates with audiences. I don't know, it's bittersweet, isn't it, to say goodbye to such a legend, but what a gift to have been able to see what she did.
Yeah, beautifully said. Maggie Smith's, her impact on acting, immeasurable. She really did raise the bar for everyone. Reminded us that true artistry, it's timeless.
And that dedication, right, to your craft, that commitment to excellence, that's what leaves a mark on the world. This was a good one. What a deep dive this was. A celebration of just a remarkable, remarkable talent. Yeah. And a good reminder of just the power of storytelling.
It really was. A fitting tribute, I think, to the one and only Maggie Smith.
Yes.